Hello everyone, Kent Bressler here. I want to welcome you to Kent's Kidney Stories. During our time together over these podcasts, I'd like to discuss kidney disease. I'd like to tell you about my journey as a transplant patient, but also talk about dialysis, kidney donation, and just about anything else that might be of interest. Kent's Kidney Stories, a podcast endorsed and sponsored by kidneysolutions.org.
Hello everyone, this is Kent Bressler and we're going to do some podcasting. My favorite job now in my retirement days. I just wanted to bring up that I'm hoping everybody's out there getting vaccinated. If you haven't, please do. And if you are not sure about it, give me a call. I'd like to talk to you because the more we get vaccinated, the faster we get it vaccinated, the quicker we get a handle on this beast. Anyway, let's start with prayer this morning. I think it's morning where I am. I don't know where you're at, but we're going to start with prayer. So, Lord, thank you for the stillness when I can relax before you and lay my impatience with other people. Smooth the furrows from my brow, the lines from my face, and the frustrations from my heart, the heavy loads from my mind, the searing irritations from my soul. I ask for the graciousness of patience, the ability to relax when I must wait. May a quiet heart and mind attend to me. Make straight my path, Lord. Rest ever short temper with a sense of humor. Amen.
Amen.
Today is a good day in my world because I get to speak to one of my dear friends from AAKP. And Ed Hickey is on the board, and he's on the executive board and pretty high muckety-muck at AAKP. And I like to call it that because we're on the board together, and we've been down the road, and we've gotten to do some really interesting things. But Ed and I are going to talk about veterans a little bit. We're going to talk about AAKP a little bit. And in general, we're going to talk about how AAKP applies to this kidney community and how it works and the joys of being part of AAKP. If you're not a member, you can go to aakp.org and sign up for free. Yep, free. No problems. Mr. Ed Hickey, good morning to you.
Good to be here. My pleasure.
I'll tell you, can you give me just a little bit of your background? I know you're an attorney and I can go into it, but you tell such a better story than I can.
Sure. I am an attorney practicing in Los Angeles, California. I'm a kidney patient, chronic kidney disease. I was diagnosed just randomly, had no idea. I got a test back and my doctor said, hey, what about your kidneys? How long have you been dealing with this? And I said, dealing with what? And it was right. I had, my firm had transferred me to Los Angeles from Washington. And so it was a routine physical. And the doc said, well, your scores are, you have kidney disease. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, you don't know about this? And I said, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. So what do we do? And let's manage it. And I had known people who had dealt with it at different levels, people with transplants, people who had managed it, people who had been on dialysis. I had members of my family. One of my cousins at a young age had kidney disease and unfortunately passed away a few years ago. He lived in Tampa. It's funny enough where AAKP is based. But so I had sort of passing familiarity with the disease, but didn't know anything about it. But I I served in the Marine Corps. I worked in Washington, D.C. in government and a few government positions up on Capitol Hill in the executive branch, practiced law, and have been doing that for about 30 years now. And I was asked to join the organization about 5 years ago. And I think that there are a lot of good initiatives that AAKP has in place. We have a global initiative. We have initiatives to reach patients. We have a Veterans Health Initiative, which I'm in charge of. I'm currently the vice president of AAKP, and as Kent mentioned, I serve on the executive committee. And we're looking to expand the footprint of AAKP, and also for everyone who is not familiar with what we do, we are patient advocates. Whatever position comes up, we represent the patient's position and advocate on behalf of kidney patients, because in the mix of all of the special interests that have some say in the treatment of kidney disease, or how kidney patients are handled within the medical system, there aren't many patient voices at the table. And we have gone out of our way to make sure that our voice is heard, and that whenever a decision is made, we're represented. And that's been our challenge, but it makes our job easier because people understand precisely what our position is. We're not in this for money. Everyone's a volunteer, and we just want to do what's best for kidney patients. And when you have that position and you bring it to the table, people listen to you. They don't have to factor in what your motives are. They know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it. And it's been a real pleasure. We do Capitol Hill days with the various kidney groups. The American Society of Nephrology just had theirs recently. And there's another one coming up at the end of May where we meet with representatives and senators and their staffs. And Kent, I know you've had a few good experiences on those kidney days, but we articulate a few issues on the Hill, and we talk to the decision makers about what we need and what we'd like to see happen in the coming year.
I like to say that AAKP is embedded in Washington. It's embedded on the Hill because I know your connections with Paul Conway and Richard Knight and long term, because they are embedded. They are there. They're actually there. You can't say that about a lot of organizations, but this one's kidney oriented. AAKP is directly kidney oriented. It talks about patients first. All right. And I think that's the best initiative you can have. And getting you implanted, with the group, with your experience on the Hill, I know that with the VA, you've done a lot for veterans for AAKP. Can you explain that a little bit, how that works?
Sure, Ken. So we have in AAKP what's called the Veterans Health Initiative, and the VA has a long history with treating kidney disease. I mean, they established very early on, almost first in the country, a dialysis program for kidney patients, because they were seeing older veterans who were coming to them with end-stage renal disease, and they wanted to do something about it. So they developed a program for dialysis that was the first of its kind in the country. And so within the VA infrastructure, there is a very strong kidney treatment program for veterans. And so we know the people who make the decisions within the VA about kidney care for veterans. And I'm a veteran, you're a veteran. And what we try to do is promote AAKP within the VA, which, I mean, the VA is up there with the Pentagon for the biggest bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. But we have direct ties to people in the director's office and people who run the actual programs, who make the decisions, transplant decisions about the changes that the VA made over the course of the last 4 years about access to medical care for veterans. We were part of that discussion. People were asking us what we thought, what impact that would have. And I mean, can I use that as an example of just
absolutely.
So there are inefficiencies in any medical system. I mean, I don't think that any system is perfect, but the VA was trying to get it better, and they have different transplant centers for different organs around the country. And the VA had a program where you had to go to your specific assigned transplant center. So if you lived in Boise, Idaho, it could be that you would have to go to San Antonio, Texas to get your transplant, or wherever the nearest
kidney
center.
Transplant.
To get your kidney transplant. And these things happen very quickly, where you get your notification that, okay, we have a kidney for you, get your stuff together, and you have to do checks and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And you can imagine saying to somebody who's already on dialysis and in some physical distress, that they have to figure out a way to pack up and come to a city that could be 2,000 miles away. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And one of the examples, I think it was Utah or maybe it was Texas, but there was an actual, one of the leading kidney transplant hospitals in the country was right across the street from a VA hospital.
San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, because there you go. So because it wasn't designated as a VA transplant center within the VA system, and sometimes another interesting wrinkle is it's the same doctors. The doctors donate their time or volunteer their time.
Absolutely.
So a transplant surgeon in San Antonio at the private hospital will walk across the street and treat people at the VA medical center because they care. They want to take care of veterans and make sure they're getting the highest degree. So the VA system wouldn't allow you to go to the San Antonio, the private center, and it just made no sense. But to prevail upon the leadership of the VA and incentivize them to make the changes that needed to be made, they had to hear from the patients. They had to hear the practical impact that their current rules were having and how we could change that. And so we presented our cases to them, and I mean, there's nobody that's going to disagree that it's a better way to do it. It's just overcoming the inertia and establishing that the new way isn't going to negatively impact the patients. But we're able to do that.
We had a saying within I'm a retired VA employee. And we always had a saying, well, we can get there. We just don't know how long it's going to take. and it's not the idea so much of the transplant centers, but there's so few. I mean, I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, in my memory, about 13 transplant centers.
I think that's high.
And only 7 of them though at transplant kidneys.
Right. I was going to say kidney was 5 to 7.
I think the last time I read or was talking to somebody in San Antonio, it was 7.
Yeah.
And that what you're talking about is a direct indication of why the waiting list in the VA and have to wait on the kidney is so long.
Yeah.
That's the other side of that you guys attacked.
Right. Exactly.
That's the sad part of it is, there's 100,000 people out in the community waiting, but in the VA, it takes forever. I know of people that have been waiting for, 8, 9, 10 years.
Years. Right. And the critical need in the 8 or 9 years on dialysis while you're waiting is just horrific. Your health deteriorates. It doesn't make anything better. It
leaves that the window of opportunity for improvement in your health and longevity to suffer greatly. The longer you're on dialysis, the harder it is to get it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's where I know, because I followed you while you were working on these things. I have a friend in San Antonio who's very aggressive in patient veteran rights, and that is the way they're going. I believe they have a contract now with hospitals locally where they can, or they're working on, where they can actually go, a patient who is in San Antonio, Texas, can go to Methodist and get that transplant, or go to university and get that transplant.
Yeah, the other guy was in Utah. I mean, I recall, because he lived in one of the adjoining Western states, and he would have to drive, get a hotel or whatever it was, and just even for the checkups, and it was just absurd. So,
well, that's the attack mode of AAKP. They are not afraid to get in there and dig and stick their head in there. They're not afraid to go to war. We
break some eggs. We break some eggs. Again, it goes back to advocating for what's best for the patient. And I mean, I can't tell you how many meetings we get to where there are 13 or 14 people around, decision makers, advocates, and we're the only ones who are talking about patients. I mean, the others sort of, they talk about the implementation of practices that will help patients, but they're not talking about the patients themselves, but what do the patients think?
Yeah.
And what changes the dynamic is when you have a patient's voice and you hear, okay, this is what this is going to do to my life, or this is what will happen to my friend. And this is why this will work, or this is why this won't work.
Exactly. You don't have an opportunity as a veteran to control much of your care.
Correct.
I mean, I'll be honest, you don't. Only certain groups, we're just talking about combat service veterans or service-connected veterans. They're top priority and should be. Okay. But they don't. Other people who have served, they're at the bottom of the list, and that's because of funding issues. All that boils down to one thing, and that's if you've got kidney disease, the VA is a good place to go if they could just get it streamlined, and I think they're going in the right direction.
They have, Kent, it's night and day from where it was 5 years ago. I mean, you get in that system and you're taking care of all of the private sector resources that you see, all of the educational resources that you see. The VA has that times 10. Yep. They have people who are dedicated to this. We've done a couple of webinars with the VA doctors, and they're happy to meet and talk to our patients, and we can get them connected with the right people if they have kidney issues and they're struggling with the VA.
Well, you've been in that section. You've been doing that for a good while. That's really essentially why they lassoed you, like Paul got a hold of you, and jerked you into here, into AAKP.
Correct.
Because of your contacts in Washington, D.C. You talked to the VISNs, the centers. You talked to the veterans organizations,
right? The VSOs,
VSOs, and those connections are the only way, I think, to move the rocket. All right.
And that's because their membership, so their interest is, so the veteran service organizations, the disabled veterans, the Vietnam veterans, the American Legion, they all have large staffs that reach out to veterans generally. And when you have a specific issue, they poll their members all the time. And they have segments of their population that they know are dealing with kidney disease, and they identify them for us, and we can reach out to them to A, facilitate treatment within the VA, but B, just answer general questions, because our advocacy goes beyond veterans to all kidney patients, and the intersection between being a veteran and being a veteran with kidney disease is advantageous for you if you're a member of AAKP, because you get the best of both worlds.
I think that's the most important thing, is being a member. It's free. We've said it before, but get on board. And if you're a veteran, there's no reason for you not to access or try to access care. There's no way that you get turned away unless there are certain qualifications. You have to meet certain qualifications, but if you don't go apply and try, you're not going to get any service.
Right.
Especially if you've got kidney disease.
And they're going to look at you. I mean, absolutely. If you're a veteran, you're absolutely going to get a look. So
yep. And you may not qualify for anything, but you will get a look. That's a great saying. That's right. The best way to say it. They won't turn you away.
Right. Exactly.
They will not turn you away. And so if you've heard stories about how it is to get in the VA, don't listen to stories. Don't listen to the internet. Get your butt down there to the VA hospital and sign up.
Listen to Kent and Ed. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's not a reason to vacillate. Get it done. And you'll qualify just by going there. You'll get seen. They'll see you for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. So when you guys sit down, when I say you guys, Paul and Richard and you and the executive committee, how do you form up I know we have a global mission and we have what I call an at-home or a kidney patients within the sphere in the United States. This global issue, I know that we have friends in a couple, we have members in a couple of countries, right? A few countries, and I don't know how many now. Do you know exactly how many?
I want to say countries? 43.
Yeah, I would say it's up in there. We had a good friend in Ireland that we've been talking to. We've got some in India, and we've got them
right.
So we're not just not a stay-at-home group. We're a kind of like ambassadors to the world, if you really want to talk about that.
Well, so we're the model for advocacy for kidney patients that others are trying to replicate. And you look at the doctors over here, see what we're doing, and we have a lot of foreign trained doctors, and they understand the impact that we can have on on their populations, their native populations. And so they spread the word, hey, you need to talk to AAKP about how to do this. And so we interact with those groups, and a lot of kidney issues presented are the same. I mean, the treatment issues, the care issues. I mean, the insurance issues are a little different, and we really, frankly, there's the kidney or just general insurance coverage is a world unto itself. And, we identify specific areas and want to make sure that kidney patients are getting a fair shake, but globally that varies significantly. So we talk to and meet with the decision makers in foreign countries about what we're doing. And they're very interested in what we're put together. And we partner with them on studies. We a lot of the development of new courses of treatment is done overseas first, especially when they get to the human stage, because it's so difficult to do a study on people here in the United States for approval. There are different stages that you have to go through to get a drug approved or a device approved or whatever it is. And we work with people who are looking for ultimate certification here in the United States through the FDA or whatever the governing body is for their treatment. We work with them on approaches to getting a study together or getting a population of people together to participate.
The European Union, which has a huge mass of physicians and healthcare systems, we're pretty well tied to them, are we not?
Sure.
And that's where we do a lot of what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, exactly.
Yeah, I Kidney X and all of the different things, the executive order, we can name 1,000 of things that have come down. I know that Paul and Richard talk about it a lot, that, this is the decade of the kidney.
Yeah.
be early on. You know, in my lifetime, I've seen very little, if any. I think it was $19 per patient per year was spent on kidney disease, where a thing like AIDS was in the 3,000s per patient per year. And that's a lot of disparity. And not only disparity there, but we have a lot of disparity in our groups, in our racial groups. And that's something that AAKP has not stood for. They've defended the need for every patient with kidney disease to get a shot.
Right. And our decade of the kidney is getting the attention of people within the government and in private groups to focus attention on the need for additional resources in kidney care. And where the people who work on the Hill, the appropriators, the people who do authorization legislation understand what our approach is and why we're doing it, and appreciate that we're doing it as well. Because if you don't have people's attention, it's not going to happen, right? It just doesn't occur by happenstance. And so our goal is to educate people and get the right people and the right resources together so that we can improve kidney care for kidney patients.
Yeah, it's just not like going up on the Hill and talking to a senator. It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's way deeper than just once a year getting involved in that. I mean, you're talking to HHS and you're talking to CMS, HIS, all of those organizations. Paul and you and Richard have contacts. I mean, you're actually sitting in on those kinds of conversations with the government agencies.
You mentioned the executive orders. So we were meeting regularly with the Secretary Azar and the people at HHS about the executive order and what should be in it and what the needs were. And there was a focus on transplantation. There was a focus on knocking out roadblocks and speed bumps that kidney patients encountered. There was a lot of discussion about home dialysis and different alternatives and opening up the business of kidney care so that people would have access to more options, so that if you were diagnosed and your disease progressed, you wouldn't automatically be put on dialysis for 5-10 years or whatever it is, and so just like, okay, you're done, sorry, that's the best we can do for you. I mean, the idea is to craft a treatment model that allows an individual to work, to contribute, and a recognition that kidney patients who are just tied to a dialysis machine and can't do anything else get depressed, they feel stuck and they're not contributing. And so psychologically, if you're doing something positive and you're able to work, or you're able to resume a typical day, a typical week, a typical month, then your state of mind is much better and the progression of your disease can slow. So
many times that we talk to patients, like at Kidney Solutions and just in general discussions with all the kidney patients that I know and looking on social media, the biggest thing is, well, they didn't listen to me. They being the doctor, or they didn't listen to me. I don't understand. I don't get this. It's really difficult. Nobody ever told me about transplant. They just talk dialysis, those types of things. And that's what I think AAKP does. It goes and addresses that particular patient. Patient is the best advocate for themselves. Right. They want the patient to have options. This is the key here. AAKP believes in options for the patients to make a decision, not some outside entity making a decision that this is what the patient ought to do. It's up. We believe in what the patient believes in and should do under recommended guidance.
And all of that information is on our website at aakp.org. And like you said, it's free. It's a tremendous resource. And what we do is advocate for the patient. If you're in a room with a dialysis company and guess what they're going to talk about? It's if you go to a Ford dealership, they're not going to try and sell you a Cadillac.
No.
And so when you're talking to the dialysis companies, that they're not going to talk too much about transplantation. They're not going to talk about alternative courses of treatment. They're just going to talk about what your schedule is for your dialysis. And here's how we can do that. And we're trying to open up the options so that education occurs at all levels and it's frequent. And any course along the way, the patient is aware of what's available. And it's a challenge, frankly.
Oh yeah. Oh, sure it is. Yeah, it's the mission. The mission of the dialysis companies is totally different than the mission of the kidney disease patient.
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to beat them up. Now, listen, AAKP does not beat people up. AAKP tries to sit down and tries to negotiate from a good, firm position that is science-based and allow those people to find out what we're about and what the patient is about. It's not about the dialysis companies. It's about the patient.
Correct. And that's what comes through when we're in discussions. I mean, that's our position. It doesn't matter where the issue is. We're advocating on behalf of patients.
Yep.
Make sure patients have the right choices and that avenues of treatment aren't cut off to them.
It's that same thing that we just got done saying, options.
Yeah.
You can't make any decision, law decision, a medical decision for sure, if you don't have 1, 2, 3, 4 addressed with you so that you can make the choice yourself.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
There's no other, and that is AAKP stance. Period.
Yeah, 100%. The executive order was a recognition of that. And I think people recognize the significance of it the longer we get away from the day of the signing, where the practical implications of implementing the changes that are required in the executive order are met. And it just opens up a lot of opportunity for better care for kidney patients.
That's another thing that you brought up, and it's very important for people to understand. AAKP has a monitoring system. They have eyes on the prize all along. Once it's obtained, it just doesn't go in the drawer. It actually gets monitored. We want to know if it's being tried to be circumvented or there's ways of trying to undermine it. There's always a way for us to monitor and watch on those things. And I think AAKP does an extremely good job, because I know the top 3 guys are on it all the time. I mean, they're right in the mix.
We hear about it every day, Kent. I mean, we hear about what's going on in the Hill. We hear about what's going on in the executive branch. The career people at HHS or CMS or NIH or FDA, they don't change. I mean, if an administration changes, that's one thing, but they're still there. And, their perspectives don't necessarily change either. So we know where they're coming from, and we work and we watch.
That's one thing. One thing I just like to stress too, the fact that as an ex-VA employee, government employees, they don't always get a good rap. But I'm going to tell you what. I'll go to bat for them right here. I'm going to tell you what a government employee is like. They're at work every day, and in this kidney world, I know some of those folks, and I know what they want done, and they want it done for the patient. Okay, It's not about sequestering money or, you know, going up and trying to get more. They're in the trenches and they've got the patient's interest in mind, and they listen. They listen to people. I know Paul is, and you, anybody who's had experience, they'll listen to somebody in the government groove. And that's what makes the AAKP so strong right now, I think.
Sure. I mean, we know our way around, but we also have respect for the government employee, because I worked in government, Paul worked in government, Richard worked in government, Paul's dad worked in government, my dad worked in government. I mean, we just grew up around there, understanding the work that they did and what they were interested in. And it wasn't themselves. I mean, it wasn't about themselves. It was about doing better for other people. And, you know, that's the motivation. People go into government because they want to make a difference in people's lives. And we understand that. And again, our education focus is strong there as well, where they'll come to us and say, okay, what's being said? What do we need to know?
Before we get away here, I want to mention some names. And trust me, if I miss somebody, I want you to tell me.
Okay.
But in the front office in Florida, I call it front office, the working office.
Right.
We have Diana Klein,
right.
who's the executive director. I hands down one of the most intelligent, hardworking executive directors in the kidney world I've ever been appointed with.
Absolutely.
Erin Kale works with advocacy programs and has done so for years. Top-notch gal. She just understands the kidney patients, and she understands the AAKP's mission, right?
Right.
Val's
she's been with us for what, 20 years? Something like that.
So whatever it was started, she's not that old. Don't say that. That's
15. All right. Yeah, no, I didn't say what you said when it was started.
I said it.
All right.
If she listens to this, she'll be all over me. But she's always there. This woman, they're all there.
Well, the historical knowledge, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jennifer does our social media now too.
Yeah, Jennifer. Yeah. So those are the very worker bees that keep all you guys out in the field going. And I know they keep guys like me going when send out information. And like I've said, I don't say no to AAKP.
Well, I appreciate that. We have an ambassador program.
Yep.
Where people are represented throughout the states. We've got all the states covered now, I believe, and
foreign countries too. We got several. Countries.
Yeah. We're global, and they're a great group of people, a great staff, hardworking, and they have kidney patients' interests at heart as well.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
there's wonderful. No doubt, and they're a joy to work with. Yeah. It's never on us. It's always on them. You know. It's none of this, oh, well, we did this and we did that. There's no excuses. Just a straight, hard run. I call it an office, but I think it's more than that. I think it's a great jumping off point for kidney patients to get information. It's
100%.
Well, it works. It's always changing, and you can always access anything that you need. If you can't, you just call them, email them, text them. They'll do anything.
I mean, it's info@aakp.org will get you anything, and just go to the website and look at we have an education center there. Yeah. You can look at that, and it's free, and our resources stack up against anyone's.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Okay. Do you have anything else to do today, or you want to just go ahead and just talk all day?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a day job as well. The law is a fickle mistress. So
exactly.
I'm
gonna thank you from the bottom of my heart, friend. I just really appreciate you a lot.
Well, you too, Ken. It's just been a real pleasure working with you, and everything you do. I thank you because you're in it and you give it every day, and it's just greatly appreciated.
Well, keep up the good work. And if there's anything that you want to say right now, in closing, before I talk to my listeners, please do it. I want you to have the last word.
Well, there's hope. It's just if you have kidney disease, there's treatment available. There are options available to you, and it's getting better. Sign up for AAKP and become a member and become involved and advocate on your own behalf, because that's what we're doing for you, and we want you to be a part of this.
Thank you, Ed Hickey. I just can't say enough good things about you and the organization.
Well, thanks.
So,
you too.
We're gonna wrap it up, folks. Listen, I want you to take that comment to heart. There is hope. There's always hope. Whether here, there's always hope for everyone. It's not selective. There's hope for anybody who's seeking it, and you can do that through Kidney Solutions. KidneySolutions.org is an organization free, much like anything you need in the world of kidney disease. You can call us. We're there 24/7. So give us a call. Another thing I want you to do is sign up for AAKP. Just go to AAKP.org, and it's easy. And if you have any trouble, get a hold of Erin Kahle, Kahle. She'll set you straight, or Diane or Val. They'll all help you. And if not, give me a call. All right. Let's close this off by saying thank you. And if you haven't got your vaccination, please get it.
Please.
Let's get rid of it. Please get this thing. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. Let's work it out. All right. Thank you to AAKP. Thank you also to you who are listening. And remember, keep breathing.